Shalom everyone, this is Amir and I'm from Galilee. I know that it's not exactly 6 p.m. here in Israel. We've got a few more minutes to go. I'm going to turn on the Facebook Live as well, just for those who cannot watch it on YouTube. But just so you know, I'm looking at the camera of YouTube, and Facebook will have to get my side. So let me see if it can work. And I will have to apologize to the Facebook people. Shalom everyone, those that are on Facebook. This is Amir Salfati, and as promised, I am about to give a Middle East current events update. I'm going to be speaking to my YouTube camera, and those on Facebook who are not able to watch it on YouTube, and I don't know why, but you should be able to. Those on Facebook, you can actually watch me speaking to the other camera. I'm sorry, the Facebook Live is not going to be top quality because I'm not looking at the Facebook camera. I'm looking at the YouTube one. I wish you knew how not professional this whole thing is. I literally have two small tripods with two little phones. One is on YouTube and one is on Facebook. And I'm trying my best to do it as professional as possible, but I guess it's not really a top priority to get the top quality equipment right now, because we want to give you the information, and we are sure that the information is way more important than the way it looks. So that's basically it. In a few minutes, as I said, I will be live, giving you the live update. Right now, we just try to see that all the connection on YouTube, Facebook I know is not working, but YouTube I know is working, and I can see the quality on YouTube is much better. So we're going to concentrate on that one, and that's the one that will be eventually also uploaded on Facebook as a link. Let's see how many watchmen do we have. When I say watchmen, I mean people who understand the times and the seasons, and those that are dedicated to warn the others of the things that are about to come. Not stay silent, but warn the others. Let me remind you of the verses from Ezekiel 33, verses 1, 2, 3. You can go on all the way to verse 6. So tell me that you're a watchman and tell me where you're from. And I see that we have people from Europe, from Israel, from the United States. I see people from South Africa, and from many different parts of the world. Ireland, Brazil. Wonderful. Well, again, we're gonna start the actual live update in just a few minutes, but I can tell you in between, until we get to 6 p.m. we got about 5-6 more minutes. I can tell you that I just finished guiding for Governor Huckabee. It was a large tour of 330 people, 7 buses. I'm not a big fan of big groups, but I'm a good friend of the Huckabees, and I really love their tours. And it's always amazing, beyond seeing the land and beyond seeing how the Bible comes alive. It's always amazing how many people come to Israel with one thing in mind and leave Israel with another thing in mind. And I always love to watch from a side and how the Lord is working in the heart of so many people throughout the tour. And you literally see that they leave the country different people. And the Spirit of God is really working while the people are here. I always say that Israel is like the 5th gospel. You come here and you see for yourself how the Bible is reliable, authentic, true, and and how it's accurate. the descriptions of the Bible, the locations, everything screams, just like in Psalm 85, truth. It basically springs out of the earth. And no matter how many people are trying to suppress the truth and maybe rewrite history, then comes the archaeologist and they dig things out and they find that, if anything, it's their books that must be updated, but not the Bible. The Bible should not be updated. It's the same yesterday, today, and forever. It's the history books that are being updated. It's the archaeological literature that is being updated. And this is very amazing. We're going to talk this evening on 4 or 5 different topics. The first, I will tell you the good news, that we finally can reveal that a huge terror attack was foiled in Australia in July, the end of July, the last day of July of last year, thanks to the Israeli intelligence. I'll tell you all about it in a few minutes. I can also tell you that Israel stopped ISIS terrorist attacks in 30 different countries due to our boots on the ground. I mean, we have people in Syria, in Turkey, in Iraq. We have real-time info, and we're able to share it with countries around us. More than 30 times Israel tipped countries around us. When it comes to Australia, we tipped the Australian authorities, but it was actually supposed to be a bomb that was about to blow up an Etihad Airways Airbus 380. You're talking about the largest number of passengers on one plane. It was supposed to fly from Sydney to Abu Dhabi in probably the first day of August, and our information basically was tipped to the Australian authorities, and within few hours arrests were made. The bomb was found, and it was beyond just a bomb. It was an attempt to do 2 things, to use explosive and to use chemical warfare. So great success, and finally we can say that a very important Israeli unit called 8200 in the Israeli military intelligence is behind what we call the golden piece of information. Somebody was just listening carefully to chatter that was going on in Syria and from Syria to Australia, and we were able to alert the Australians I was in Australia that time. I'll never forget it. The last day of my travel, on my way to the airport, arrests were made. I knew then already that Israel was behind the information given to the Australians, but of course in those days the best was to stay quiet and let the Australian authorities deal with it. So this is something that was just released clear for publication. So I think I could share that with you right now. Israel basically tipped the information to the Australian authorities, and a large explosion, mid-air explosion, was prevented. And of all things, this is Etihad Airways. This is the airline that belongs to Abu Dhabi. And I just want to remind you that Israeli passport holders are not allowed into Abu Dhabi. We're not allowed. I cannot get on Etihad Airways, and if I can, they will not allow me to leave the premises of the airport. I will have to use their airport just as transit. I'm not allowed in. So here we are, saving lives of so many people from Abu Dhabi and from Dubai, and saving lives of others, and yet we are treated as the enemies of the state. But we don't really care. As long as we could stop ISIS from doing what they wanted to do, that's the most important thing at the time, as it is important right now. Again, shalom everyone. This is Amir Tsarfati, and we are live on YouTube, and this is a Middle East current events update. We're going to start with a couple things that are happening around us. The first thing is, and I'm sure that your media is not telling you that, but there is a terrible carnage that is going on right now in a northeastern suburb of Damascus right now, a place where 400,000 people live. And over the last 48 hours, more than 300 people were killed in an ongoing bombardment of the Syrians with the help of the Russians. One Sukhoi fighter jet, we're not sure if it belongs to the Syrians or to the Russians, was actually shot down. It managed to have emergency landing, but it was shot down by the rebels. But I want you to know that of the 300 people, more than 60 children were massacred over the last 48 hours, and no one is talking about it. No one is mentioning that. And that is one thing that is happening in the outskirts of Damascus. And people need to wake up to the understanding that there is an ongoing war that has nothing to do with Israel. And we are always looking at Damascus that might be destroyed, can be destroyed, biblically will be destroyed. And it seems like the Arabs are doing a much better job in destroying Damascus than any other person around. Damascus is being almost shredded to pieces right now by Bashar al-Assad's forces and with the help of the Russians. Now, if you're asking a Syrian person who is an Alawian or a Shiite, he will tell you that Assad is doing the right thing, preventing terrorists from taking over his country. But if you're asking the Sunni civilians, they will tell you that they're being butchered, they're being massacred, and it's merciless bombardment from the air. And I know people don't talk about it, but you need to understand that this is a very important thing. No human rights organizations are saying one single word about what is going on over there. And the Palestinian leadership is worshiping Assad, and the world is not even trying to condemn Russia for its part in this whole thing. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a terrible carnage that is going on right now in Syria. And that's in one place, that is in the outskirts of Damascus. Tell you another thing that's going on right now is that the Shiites forces of Bashar al-Assad are trying to penetrate into the Afrin enclave, that piece of land that Erdogan took on the northwestern part of Syria right now. So there is a mini war right now between the Syrians and the Turks regarding that particular area. Erdogan is sheltering the rebels up in the north, while Bashar al-Assad wants to kill them. And Erdogan is building military bases around them. And yesterday, we know that there was an attempt of Bashar al-Assad to get there, and Erdogan killed many of Bashar al-Assad's soldiers. We know that right now, it is still going on. After they were bombarded by Erdogan, they're entering once again into that enclave of Afrin. And again, a mini war is going on there. As I said on my recent update, 10 different mini wars are all around Syria right now. Afrin is one of them. Damascus is one of them. There's one on the eastern side in Deir Azor, where the Kurds are protected by the Americans. And there are more and more. And ISIS right now is regaining forces and regaining power in some other places. And it's not easy to see all around Syria people killing people, and innocent people are being killed. Children are being massacred. More than once, chemical weapon is still being used, but the world is choosing to bury its head in the sand. The French president said that he's going to intervene if he will know that there is a use of chemical weapon. Well, there is a use. He knows that. He's not intending to do anything about it. Nobody wants to mess up with the Russians or the Iranians right now, certainly not in the mud of Syria. So a lot is going on right now in Syria while your media is not reporting that. This is a heartbreaking story. I saw a video that was shot by a 10-year-old Syrian boy who is blogging all of this massacre with his phone. It's documented massacre that is being documented by a young boy, and the world cannot stay indifferent, but unfortunately the world is indifferent to not only that, but to much more than that. Let me tell you that on February 13th, which is about 8 days ago, Erdogan gave a big speech in which he outlined already his next struggle, his next war. First of all, he invaded into Syria. He is building army bases there. He is doing in northern Syria anything that he likes. Nobody says one word. Nobody accuses him for invading into a foreign country. No word in the UN condemns him for violating Syrian airspace or Syrian ground. And he is drunk with power. And what he just said on February 13 is, just as we have to keep the rights, our rights in that enclave of Afrin, we will also do that in the Aegean Sea and in Cyprus. In other words, his appetite is growing bigger, and he's basically saying, do not for 1 minute think that we never noticed to the discovery of gas off the shores of Cyprus. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been saying that forever. The hook in the jaw of Russia into our territory was the gas and the oil that Israel found and others found as well. But Erdogan wants a piece of the pie. He is saying, I'm sorry, but I'm not obligated to international agreements from the 1800s or from the early 1900s post World War I. These were done when Turkey was humiliated by the world. Cyprus is ours. Several of the islands over there, there's a group of islands that are, there's about 18 islands, and it's called Emia Islands, but the Turks call it Kardak Islands. And basically, Erdogan said, this is ours. And a lot is going on between Greece and Turkey over the last couple weeks that the media is not saying one word about it. So Erdogan's appetite is big, and much of it, ladies and gentlemen, much of it is indeed the discovery of gas and oil off the shores of Cyprus. And he understands that not only that oil is being discovered and gas is being discovered, but Egypt wants part of that. Egypt wants to buy that gas. Italy is the country that is sending its teams to drill there. And he understands that everybody is having a party here off the shores of an island that he claims to be his. So we see that there were several incidents, such as on January 28th when the Coast Guard of Turkey, ladies and gentlemen, the Coast Guard of Turkey prevented the defense minister of Greece from visiting those islands, those disputed islands. And it was just, it's not a declaration of war, it's almost a war by itself. We know that over the last 3 weeks in February, 36 times the Turkish F-16s, armed F-16s, penetrated into Greek airspace. This is like mafia. I mean, we're going to do whatever we want to do with what belongs to you, basically. We know that on February 13th, a Turkish Coast Guard basically rammed into another Greek Coast Guard boat, and it wasn't a big damage and nobody got hurt, but it was another way to show you that Erdogan is not going to give up. The Greek already said that next time we're not going to react peacefully to such a thing. Basically, ladies and gentlemen, what we are seeing right now is that the Middle East is continuing to develop more and more old, new conflicts. The conflicts that we see today are conflicts that you could see them 100 years ago. I mean, Sunni Shiite wars are there for the last 1400 years, and the war between the Greek and the Turks is there from the 1800s, and the war between the different tribes in Syria and in Iraq, it's an old war, and the Kurds have been trying to get their independence forever. And so you see that all of those old and probably sleepy conflicts came back to life in the wake of the Syrian war, and everybody's trying to cut his own or get his own dividend from all of that. We know that the Turkish oil conglomerate has been trying to drill for oil in the Black Sea, and they find nothing. Yet the Greek found tons of oil, in Cyprus, and the Sultan found nothing, and nothing. And so the people of Cyprus found 127 billion cubic meters of gas. You can imagine it can last for that island for at least 100 years. And the Turkish Sultan is angry. Everybody's finding oil, everybody's finding gas, everybody's making money, and I am stuck with nothing. So a lot of it has to do with this one. And again, I just want you to know that Egypt is also part of this whole thing, because Egypt needs energy. Egypt needs sources of energy. And in 2013, the Egyptians and the authorities in Cyprus signed a free trade agreement on gas between them, and basically they ignored the Turkish side of Cyprus. And we know that as far as Erdogan is concerned, a chunk of that pie belongs to him, and he wants it. So what do we have? We have carnage going on in Damascus. We have a mini war going on in northern Syria between Bashar al-Assad and between the Turks. And we see that the Turkish Sultan is also interested in much more than just the Syrian control. He wants gas, oil, and control over 18 islands and some of the gas that belongs to Cyprus. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the things that are happening that the media will never report. We also need to know that the Palestinians decided that they will go to the UN and basically expose or unveil their peace plan. We know that Mahmoud Abbas, Abu Mazen, their president, said that no matter what, it's going to be an international broker deal. Jerusalem Declaration is off the table. In other words, Jerusalem is back open for negotiation. Trump's declaration of Jerusalem as capital is off the table. America will not be the mediator between the two. He thinks that he controls history. He thinks that he can reverse things just like they always do. They ignore reality. They ignore declarations. They ignore agreements. And they want to create things by themselves. But guess what? The Egyptians are not on their side. The Saudis are not on their side. The Gulf states are not on their side. And apart from probably Iran and Turkey that are trying to help him by funding some of their activities, there is not much going on with the Palestinians. And they are very, very frustrated with this whole thing. Allow me to also update you on some of the inner politics in Israel. I know that many of you are watching what's going on with Netanyahu. There are 4 different cases, maybe almost 5 different cases where people are trying to put on Netanyahu an accusation of taking bribery. And the problem is that he never took money from anyone. And the definition is, are cigars and champagne from a friend, is this bribery? And if it is bribery, then you have to indict not only the one who receives it, you have to indict the one who gives it. And they have a problem proving that there is someone who can be accused for giving that. So many of the cases that are open right now, they are using state witnesses and states' evidences. They're trying to protect some of Netanyahu's closest aides and closest confidants to somehow spill the beans. But at the same time, you know that after so long, the police cannot yet find the smoking gun that will prove that Netanyahu is a corrupt prime minister. Beyond that, I will say that the Israeli public is not buying the media corruption and the media brainwashing. And according to certain polls done yesterday, actually Netanyahu's party will get more seats in the government, in the parliament, if elections were done yesterday, more than he won with earlier. He last time he got 30, he's getting 34. In other words, the public is convinced that Benjamin Netanyahu is a good prime minister, and the media is trying to topple a government here together with the liberals. And we see that in America, we see that in other countries. Liberals, together with the media, collaborate to topple governments because they don't like their agenda. The good thing is that most of the Israelis are not blind to all of this. And Netanyahu is also speaking directly to people on Facebook. He doesn't even give any interviews to the Israeli media because he knows exactly who they are and what they are all about. So he speaks every day to the people of Israel on Facebook, and everybody's watching him. And we know what's going on. If the police really had anything against him, the Attorney General of Israel would have indicted Netanyahu a long time ago. But the uncertainty in the political arena right now in Israel might bring us to early elections. And this is something that I find very alarming, if you're asking me. When our enemies are watching an unstable government, when they're watching a prime minister that is being hunted by his own media and his own political system, they can take advantage of that. We already heard from the Iranians that they will destroy Tel Aviv to ashes if Israel will do anything to them. We hear from the Lebanese chief of staff that they're ready for another war with Israel. They're so good in talking. They've always talked, but when the money time came, every single war they lost. And I wonder if they believe in a God that gives them the victory, then how come their God never gave them any victory since Israel was born in 1948? That alone should cause them to think, do I believe in the right God? And at the same time, he that keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleep. I mean, the Lord is out there, just like I gave the report from last Saturday. A rocket fell on Israeli house 6 days ago or 5 days ago, and it never exploded. And, it could have killed everybody around. He didn't scratch one person. So you see that the attempt to destroy, the attempt to disrupt, the attempt to sow desolation and killing and is always there. But God is also there for us. And we can feel, as an Israeli, people ask me if I'm afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. In fact, I will tell you the truth. I feel safer in my country than anywhere else around the world. I feel safe in my country because I know exactly that we have our eyes on our enemies. We know who the enemy is, and you probably can't hear that. But the F-16s are just taking off right now next to my house, and we always have an F-16 or an F-35 in the air. We're always ready to retaliate. We're always ready to get those scumbags wherever they are. All those perpetrators who are trying to kill us and destroy us. We're there. We're ready. I also want you to know that Israel successfully tested the Arrow 3, which is the anti-ballistic missiles rocket. I mean, we literally destroy ballistic missiles in space. I mean, in the atmosphere. This is by far the longest distance that a rocket had to fly and destroy a target. Israel successfully launched that, and this is quite important because from far remote countries such as Iran, it will only take ballistic missiles to hit Israel. And so we're ready for anything that might come from that part of the world. So we talked about the Palestinian, we talked about Netanyahu's issues, we talked about what's going on in Syria, and we talked about Erdogan. And allow me to finish my update with words of condolences to a very good friend of mine, Anne Graham Lotz, who just lost her legendary father, Billy Graham, hours ago. A pillar of faith, a father in faith to so many millions in America and around the world. Someone, he never made it to 100, but he was in his 100th year of his life. Billy Graham went home to be with the Lord that he spoke of and referred people to, and praised and worshipped all of his life. The angels rejoice. People may be sad that he's not with us, but trust me, everybody else in heaven is happy to have such a champion of faith who ran the race, who kept the faith, and now he's there getting his crown of righteousness, which he will later on put at the feet of Jesus. So a great man of God, and I'm so honored to know his daughter and his son, Franklin Graham, and I know several other of the family members, and I'm sorry for their loss, but I'm sure that they know that Dad is in a much better place right now. So this was a shorter update this time. I gave you a few topics of things that are going on around, and I want you to know that it is an honor for me to be an Israeli who lives here, a Jew who understands the Jewish background of everything around in my country, a believer in Jesus who understands the Word of God, both the Old and the New Testament, and a military person who dealt not only with the Israeli military system, but also as a negotiator with the Palestinians, someone who speaks Arabic, who understands the way they think, who understands the way they act. To me, it's important that you know that I'm trying to stay away from sensationalism as much as I can. I'm trying to give you reports of things that happens around us, and I filter things because I believe that a lot of it is disinformation. Many things that are written in newspapers are actually the opinion of the reporter and not necessarily the exact truth. I tend to dig in through sources and in sources that I have in the Arab media as well as in the Israeli military intelligence, and I'm trying to give you as accurate and as clear update as possible. I really feel that in these last days, one of the mandates of Behold Israel is not only to lead people in the country, is not only to teach the Word of God, but also to give people an understanding of the times and the seasons, sort of like being your boots on the ground here. And it is an honor for me to do that with the very, I would say, basic and humble means that I have, such as 2 phones and 2 little tripods, and 1 microphone that only works in 1 phone and is not working on the other one. But I'm trying to do my best, and thank you for following us on Facebook and on YouTube, for visiting our website. Thank you for even watching the pictures that I put on Instagram, Behold Israel, one word. And thank you for your friendship and for your support. We really appreciate that. I'm negotiating right now with a media company on maybe starting a weekly television program to give the Christian world an understanding of the events in the Middle East, to give a weekly roundup of what is going on. I'm also in negotiations with some radio stations, but all is only going to be possible through your help and your prayers. So we thank you very much for your support and your help and your prayer, and we ask that you will continue to do that. We grow very fast, but we really don't want to. We don't want to take the glory to ourselves. Really, I know myself. There's really nothing in me that I see that God can use better than others. But apparently He gave me a platform, both online and with people on the ground, and I'm trying to do my best to serve the Lord within those capacities that He gave me. So thank you again for everything. Thank you for your support, for friendship, for prayers, and for your help to the ministry. And stay in touch with us. If you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, please do that. Go to our website, beholdisrael.org, and you can add your email address to get your email once a week. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, do that. That probably will be the best way to communicate with people once Facebook puts me in Facebook jail. And if we're still there, then you can, of course, like and follow us on Facebook, Behold Israel. Thank you again, and God bless you all from the Galilee. Shalom. Bye-bye.